Welcome to the cheeky bonus. Let's carry on from where we left off. Enjoy.
But he was like, "Can I borrow your camera? I'd make some like really cool videos and that." I was like, "Have you ever used a camera before?" And he's like, "No, but it can't be that hard." I'm like, "It's not that hard," but it's like. Then I was like, "You're gonna need an ND filter. This is the ND filter. You put this on because you can't just walk from inside to outside because of your frame rate and your shutter speeds." And the end of it, I was like, "Just use your phone," because by the time I was like, "You're inside and you've got, I don't know, say 50 frames, 50 shutter speed, like 25 frames a second. You walk outside, it's just white, and you're like, oh, and then you have to like do that, fiddle with it. You have to, it's like,
But
it's
there's
a
an
lot of
arrogance.
effort just for like a sort of fun video.
I feel like because cinematographers do it so well with such ease that anybody thinks they can do it. And that's the whole point of film. Film should feel like natural life.
To be clear, I can't do it. So
but people think, it's like the thing that made me laugh was when you hear sound effects in films, people go, "Oh, that must have been an easy day when they just closed the door or there's a car chase." It's like, no, all the sounds are done in post. There's somebody that captures all the different sounds and then they're layered and they're like, "What are you talking about? That guy just opened a door and closed it and then got in a car chase." So I'm like, no. It's like, but that's what I love though. I love the fact that as artists or people that are very fond or love film or do it for a living, it's like you get to peek behind the curtain and you see the magic of film. And when the normal people of the world turn up, they just think it's all captured in that one day, and you're like, "No, man."
It's so
Drew, just to tag on the back of that, something that's quite funny. I was at a pub last night with a friend of mine who I didn't realise in the last few months had got a job as a set designer and a set worker on film sets and TV sets, and they've done Netflix stuff. They've done things for TV and things. And he was saying he was doing this show. I believe it was actually Jodie Comer is in the show as well, or it's a Jodie Comer movie or show. And there was a scene where she needed to be in the shower. And they were literally told, "Right, look, boys, we need a shower. Like, can you sort something out over there?" And they basically got all this stuff, and they just basically put together this like rickety old shower, apparently, like this bodge job of a thing for them to do the shot, like sort of an hour later, and they could be on set. Oh, no, there was one bit he was saying there's a TV show, and it's part one of the scenes was set in like a school, so he was drawing on a bit of paper, like children's drawings, like Chris 12 like, and drawing these like stupid like Crayola drawings and that to put on the wall, and like his drawing is actually in the scene, like in the shot, and he was like, "That's the sort of stuff we do."
That's
like it's like it could be like a 10 or 12 hour day, but you're like just getting on there to set designing, and it's like, we'll have to get him on it because it sounds really fun what he does.
That sounds crazy. I was gonna say, Aaron, have you ever been tempted to do kind of Vince Gilligan shots? Because for me, they're some of the sexiest, most kind of exciting, imaginative things.
Vince Gilligan.
Yeah, like Breaking Bad. Like where they put the camera. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
How do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
I was watching Breaking Bad last night.
So the reason why I call it like a Vince Gilligan shot, for example, like there might be a bit where like a character like I'm trying to think, like they might shoot through like a glass bottle or something, or the way where they put the camera is crazy. So like a lot of the introductions, for example, like a teddy bear's eye floating, and then they'll do like that's like the plant, and then the payoff is later on you'll see like you'll pan across the water and there's like a burnt teddy bear. Not that you probably get to put many of those things in music videos, but if you look at a lot of Vince Gilligan's, well, I presume it's his idea from a directing standpoint, and the cinematographer gets involved, but the shots are really cool. So like, or maybe you'd shoot through like a pipe. You'd see a character's hand come in to reach for something really important, like integral, like he's trying to find a key and it's his hand going in to grab the key. And it's like, wow, this is such an interesting shot.
Very, very much what I was talking about earlier with the kind of, I guess the kind of the creativity and the playground that's involved with like short form and like music videos and commercials. Like you can really play with all that kind of stuff creatively, and it's like I love all that stuff so much. Like putting the camera in like really obscure places, like very much that the McDonald's thing we did, just kind of like finding mad areas where we can put it, where it's just like it just feels different, or it feels like the perspective of thing that you're photographing, and like it's so much fun. And like also just finding finding places with the camera that are moving the story forward in the right way. Like, because I think that's so much like, I think like whenever I hear like the kind of the biggest cinematographers in the world chat on podcasts and stuff, like they all say the same thing. They're always like, when they read reviews of their movies, and people say, oh, the movie wasn't very good, but the cinematography was great. Like, that's like the worst insult for them, because like anything in cinema, like any role needs to be hidden and it not be noticed, and just embed and like kind of like embed itself into the story, and you just sit there and experience something. Nothing should be distracting. And I think that's like, and I guess that's so much of the skill of like, good cinematographers is like being able to like embed an audience in it. Like, I think that's what you were saying earlier, Drew, or Kevin, like the like being able to like, I've lost my train of thought.
Wait,
Talking about doing it without people picking up on it.
yeah,
Yeah,
seamless. Make it like
yeah,
it's almost like invisible. Like it doesn't.
mm,
Cinematography doesn't steal the limelight, as it were. Like, it's not
yeah,
showboating.
yeah. It's like when you see it done really well on like most good movies, like, it's, you don't, you're right, like no one notices it, but it's like
Yeah.
that's such an incredible thing about like cinematography. That's why I fucking love it so much, because it's like
Well,
you're literally, it's the most concrete form of storytelling. Like that, like when someone reads a book, like it's very much up to the audience's interpretation of how they imagine that world. But like filmmaking is so immediate and concrete. You can literally manipulate how an audience is feeling through imagery and and actors and and a great scene or a great art department or a great location. Like you're every and it's like most cinema goers or most people watching stuff, they don't like understand all the like minute details of everything that's going on to like manipulate how they're feeling. But there's a lot going on, and it's like every minute detail is subconsciously affecting how you're relating to that character on screen or how you're feeling about that scene. And it's like such an incredible thing to be able to like control how a story is being driven and control how someone is feeling when they're experiencing that movie. It's like so magical.
Well, like even what
So,
you were saying, like not very many. Even if you're uneducated on it in film, you still know. Even if you don't notice, you feel the differences. Like
yeah,
like
exactly.
there's examples of where someone's filming just on a normal lens where they've got some nice depth of field where the background's out of focus and you're focused on the person because everything's hunky dory and everything's nice
Mm,
in this conversation.
mhm,
Later on in the movie, there's the exact same shot, but it's using a wide angle lens, and their face is not as it was, and the lighting's a bit darker, and
mm,
nothing's been told to you. We're not saying this person's in
mm.
danger, but that visual is like something's not right with her or with this situation, and you can
Yeah,
feel it, but you don't know why
yeah. That's
unless you're a cinematographer and you know exactly, oh,
completely, and that's
that's been
that's
tweaked.
yeah, completely. And like, that's the thing that like I think audiences are very experienced these days. Like when you see something like that, you've seen that lens before in an uncomfortable situation. Like for example, the first Halloween movie. Like audiences back then were terrified of it. You watch that today, eh, kind of like maybe scary for me. Like I'm pretty bad with scary movies, but like it's like audiences know like Moonlight. Like audiences expect Moonlight to be blue and like soft, but that's not what Moonlight looks like at all. Like there's so many like cinema tropes that audiences subconsciously know and understand with all like everything across the filmmaking process. They get it. They know what's going on, and it's like I think, and you can very much play with that as well. Like with in kind of like I like when I was at uni, like like you kind of learn about the different tropes of like cinematography and what you need to do in certain situations. It's like a low angle makes someone look powerful, and a high angle makes someone look really small. And it's like the kind of more you learn, the more you realize like it's not that's not what it's about. Like that, like yeah, maybe in some situations that could be what that does if you put the camera in those positions. But also, the camera in that position could mean a completely different thing. It could mean the opposite thing in another situation, in a different type of scene, with a different type of character who's feeling something different. Like it's every every technique can mean a completely different thing in another situation. It's so like how you manufacture the image visually is so based upon the characters that you're filming and the story and the scene that you're creating. It's like it's so, and also just such a person. It's like based on such a personal feeling of what you take from that as well. It's like and you and the director, I guess.
Well, to jump on that, literally when you were saying those things, like you are now, and a bit before, I was literally thinking of the Joker, and is it Lawrence? I can't remember the cinematographer. I think it's Lawrence something. Fier.
Sure. Yeah, he created.
Yeah, I mean, what a genius! The way that he paints with color. But what I was thinking was, has everyone seen the Joker? Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. New one's out in a few weeks.
You know that bit where the ambulance hits them, and then Arthur Fleck gets pulled out of the smashed glass, and they put him on the bonnet of the car, and he gets up and he starts to slowly dance. But while that's all happening, this is what's genius. Like they've slowed down the frame rate, so it feels like it's in slow motion. So when the guy's setting off the flares, they're all going on behind the background while you've got all this kind of chaos, and it feels very almost like it's dream-like, which is kind of partly the ambiguity of it. But then he gets up on the bonnet of the car and starts dancing, and then like uses his own blood to make us smile, and there's this whole audience clapping, and then the music and the way that it's shot, it's like I'll never forget how I felt watching that scene. And the choice, like you're saying, the choice of where are we putting them in the frame? Where are we as the audience? Are we right up in his grill? Are we far back? Like
that must be the best thing he's done. I've just looked at his IMDb. He's not done very many good films.
Well, he did The Hangover.
I'd say actively bad films he's done.
Kev, are you forgetting 8mm?
We're not talking about Joaquin Phoenix. We're talking about cinematographers you've done.
Oh, I was about to say.
Lawrence Sher.
Yeah, Lawrence Sher.
Done then? Go on.
He was The Hangovers.
The Hangover, which I wouldn't say is cinematography interesting.
I'm sorry, that shot of Leslie Chow's balls is just like.
I think we should also give Lawrence a big shout out for making one of the best movie referencing platforms, like the first. Actually, he invented this platform called ShotDeck, and like you can like type in anything into it, and if you type in like smoking, it'll bring up like hundreds of fucking stills from hundreds of movies of just people smoking. Like you can, he like it's his thing.
Oh, what Lawrence Sher did that?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I honestly don't know how I would. I don't know how I would. So much of my pre-production creative process is
ShotDeck.
Yeah. You have to pay for it these days. It's like 10 a month.
I'm just looking through.
So much of my prep process is, finding the look of it is so based on finding the images.
Yeah, it's strange you say that because the sort of films he's been involved in have been mainly kind of standard comedies. Like, I mean, he did I Love You Man, which I absolutely love. That's one of my favorite comedies. And he's done some amazing comedies, but nothing I can think of that would stand out visually apart from the Joker and Garden State.
That's a perfect example, though. Sorry to jump in.
Yeah, Garden State. Yeah,
that's a perfect example, though. Kind of like when you think of like kind of dramas, or actually it's more kind of dramas, to be honest, or thrillers. You tend to pay more attention to the way that things are shot because you don't want a beautifully shot comedy. Like it kind of doesn't. It's almost like it's not needed in a way. Like and that's probably quite an interesting thing, actually. I mean, obviously, it still needs to be shot so it's visually nice for the eyes.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're painting a picture like you would with a drama. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. Do you know what I mean? It feels like a waste on a comedy.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say a similar thing of a similar vein. Like, yeah, I think it's not as kind of, I guess comedies aren't as kind of cinematic. I hate that word, but like they're not something that you'd like reference as looking like
they're not Oscar winning, are they?
Yeah, but it's like it's still very like comedy is a very interesting part of like cinematography. Like I learned a lot about. I did Channel 4, I think it was a BBC Channel 4 pilot 2 years ago with Jack Clow, who directed all of the People Just Do Nothing thing with Corrupt FM.
Oh, I love that.
And like he knows so much about like visual comedy storytelling, and like it's a because like it's like so much of it is just like not letting so much of cinematography as well is not letting the image and the cinematography take over and be distracting from what the actors are doing and what the scene needs to be. And like, I guess that's especially prevalent in comedy because like it's all that matters is the comedy and how funny it is.
It's all about the punchline, isn't it?
Yeah,
Rather than, oh, that was really nice how they filmed that. You're just waiting for the punchline all the time.
Judd Apatow's work as well. Like, it's not like flashy cinematography, but they're some of the best movies. They're incredible.
Yeah.
He's a
I
genius.
think editing might be more important in some of those as well because it's about the quick cuts and stuff like that. But again,
and it's like little things of how you cover it as well. Like for example, I think Judd Apatow, from watching behind the scenes, I think he does a lot of like shooting the reverse angles at the same time, so you can let the actors like riff off each other and just kind of
that's important in the comedies, isn't it? When you've got good improvisers.
And that's so much about with like cinematography as well, like figuring out how you're going to like manufacture and the process, or like make the actors feel comfortable in the space, and like so much of it is like like managing people and like managing schedules and like managing it's not just creative and lighting and camera work. It's like a lot of it is kind of figuring out the technical and managerial side of
where you move, all the blocking and everything as well, to make sure you've got all the movements sorted so you don't fuck up. Do you have the little guy standing behind you holding on to you, making sure you don't fall into the back into things?
Yeah, completely. I'm quite good with like I remember seeing a video on Instagram years ago of a Steadicam operator walking backwards off a stage. I was just like, bro, like if you're on a stage, you know where the edge of the stage is. Like whenever I'm filming on a stage, like I'm always like feeling with my foot of where the edge of the stage is, because like people are always like, do you want a spotter? And like, do you want someone holding on? It's like, yeah, but sometimes they just get in the way, like when you want to move back really quickly. And like I'm quite good at like knowing where my surroundings are when I'm handheld, like because I ain't falling off.
You don't fall off stages.
Not yet.
I did actually. I almost did do that once. I think I was filming the rehearsal of a Afrobeats artist at the O2, and they have like the walkway that goes out to a middle bit often on these shows, and like in the middle bit at the end of the walkway, like in the middle of the crowd, the middle of that section went down, and when I last looked at it, it was up. And
almost did a Gemma Collins then.
Yeah, I was walking back, and I just happened to look behind me, and I was like, "Holy shit!" It was like it was really high up as well.
Why did someone give you the heads up on that? Like, oh, by the way, that thing that was up before has just changed now, just to let you know. It's more like an Indiana Jones trip pit.
It ended really badly. My goodness.
One thing I wanted to bring up, actually, you were talking about earlier, like different people being creative in that. Now, I'm not too sure who's responsible for this shot, but it's probably one of the most famous shots in cinema history. Now, I'm not sure I've got the name right. Is it the vertigo shot from Jaws? Where they pan out but zoom in really quick, and it gives that
so many different names. The trombone shot, the push pull, the dolly zoom.
Trombones are great. That's a great word for it.
That's you go out really quick, but you zoom in really fast, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like that. Whoever thought of that, whether it was
Genius.
The director, the cinema, I don't know who thought of that, but stuff like that to flick. How long had cameras been out for before someone thought to do that?
I know.
But someone was always going to think of it. That was as an obvious thing now, isn't it?
It's just a weird thing to think of. Oh, what if we go really fast backwards but zoom in really quick? It's a strange thing to think of, isn't it?
Well, I guess it's such an incredible thing because it's like obviously, and that's a big part of like lensing and kind of the camera side of cinematography. Like I think when one's starting out, you think of lenses as just like that, like a close up or wide, but like it's so related to how far away you are from the subject, and also how much you want to compress the background in relation to the character, and like is the background relevant for that character? Do you want their world to be really busy, or do you want it to be really focused on them? Like that because obviously wide lenses, you see more of the background, and like then all the distortions of the human face that you get. Like there's so many things that different lenses can do, and like I
It's
guess.
the same. It leans into photography because you'll probably agree with this, Kev. Sometimes if you're taking a portrait of someone, you've got like a 50mm lens and you're relatively close, click. But if you took like a longer focal length lens, stood back and zoomed in,
Mm,
you get like sometimes even a completely different shot.
mm,
Yeah,
They're framed exactly the
the
same.
face is gonna be
You're just
different.
stood 10 meters
Different.
back, and it's
The
like
face will
it's
be
just completely
slimmer or
different.
wider as well. There's loads of other aspects to it. Yeah.
yeah,
But it's
and
also
things that
pulling focus as well, because I remember I've been on some film sets where they put like a little felt tip thing because they know at that point they're moving in, they're like kind of zooming in, and then they turn it so that it pulls focus to a different character at the table. And at that particular moment, like you were saying about how to make an audience feel something, it's like, say someone's got a bloody hand and they're holding a knife at like a poker table. 1 minute it all seems innocent. A guy's just looking at his hand and he's got like 3 queens or something, and he's trying to play his hand. Then you throw focus, and there's a guy there with like a bloody knife. And you're like, whoa, what is
Yeah.
going?
I would
Now
say
we are
that's
not.
one thing that makes your footage go from like it's the easiest trick to make your footage go from phone footage to like, oh, that actually looks really cool. Just to be able to pull focus, which you can do now on a phone. Like you could go into someone and pull focus, and it goes so smooth. You'd be like, oh wow, that looks amazing.
Have you
I
seen
remember
Because
Called
pulling
Quiet
is
on the
underrated as a job. It's so
It
important.
is, yeah.
Oh, but
Have you
man,
seen Called Quiet on the Western Front?
Yes.
Well, the original.
No, the new one.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen the original movie.
No, the new one's
So
really good.
the new movie that came out, there's no focus tools in it at all. It's
Oh, really?
magic. It's magic. It's like so cool. Like I think like I hear what you're saying about like I think that like pulling focus in it like it looks like I think that's very much about that kind of depth of field thing, and you kind of expect to show depth of field with kind of cinema. But like I do often feel like a focus pull is a bit like a lazy. I think in some it depends on the movies obviously, but it can
That's what I was getting at. I think it's kind of a quick trick to make your
yeah,
footage look really good to someone that's not seen
like
it, maybe.
so like watching like Denis Villeneuve's work like in like Dune and stuff, like just the things the shots that he decides to use in certain situations. I'm just like, wow, like he is a director, man. Like he like just like little detail, like when the first one when the ship leaves off the Scottish looking planet, and like probably filmed in Scotland, and like
no, I'm only
like,
kidding. I'm only kidding.
and like I can't remember what it is, but there's some like close-ups of like the shore and stuff, and like little details, and it says so much about that situation, that moment, and it's like it's not necessarily I think what you might be focus pulling on or pulling focus on in such a situation. I guess it's also about like like what the things that you're choosing to capture for that moment, whether it's some cutaway or GV or it's like what is it that shows how that character's feeling. It could just be some random thing on the floor, how the water's rippling, like just like human things related to nature that like would show something about that character. Like that I find just
It is funny
It's almost
because
poetic, isn't it?
yeah,
I
it's
would
perfect.
compare focus pulling to the photography equivalent of vignetting.
Sure.
Because if I look at all my really early photos, when I first started doing it, everyone had like a vignette, and it was all like sort of over. And then if I look at any of my early videos, they're all focus pulling, or they're all like 120p, like super slow mo.
Yeah,
It's just like, and I look back and be like, I really wish I didn't do that.
but
Like you just
focus
stop doing
pulling
it.
I think there's so many like focus pulling is quite a big chat these days because like there's a lot of cameras that can pull their own focus. Or I think people that are involved in like event coverage and kind of ENG type work or like it's a very useful tool, but like people I've heard some people say like, oh yeah, no, focus pullers aren't going to be a thing in the future. That is complete nonsense because it's I've been using those cameras quite a bit this year that do pull their own focus like the FX6. And it's super useful. Like when
You definitely need it. I was just doing it all the time. At
Yeah,
every
yeah.
given occasion, I was like, focus pull, focus pull, focus pull.
Yeah.
When really you could have done it twice.
Yeah, overkill.
But it's like it doesn't know what I'm thinking. And it's like, for example, if I'm like got a shot of the stage like with the crowd in the foreground, like it's trying to focus on the foreground. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, you don't know what I'm thinking, and a focus puller does. And it's like a camera and a bit of tech can never replace. Like, focus pulling is such a human thing. Like, you need a human response to how your like the speed of it, how it feathers in. Because I used to be a focus puller myself, so like focus pull for like 4 years or so, and like it's a very fucking hard thing to do, but like it's really good fun when you get it right. And like, and I've got so much respect for like the good focus pullers lying around. Like, there's some, yeah,
Well, it feels like a dance, doesn't it?
yeah, totally.
Like when you see them in tune with the cinematographer and they go whoop, whoop,
Yeah.
and like that, and you get like 20 different like runs at it before they go, okay guys, we're gonna go for a take, and you're like, it's like
literally.
yeah.
I think but there's all this new tech, like all this there's horns on top of the cameras called Cinetape that you can like shows the distance and everything. There's all these things that can like help the focus puller in achieving what they need to do, and that do sometimes. Like, you can, I think on some of the modern handsets, you can like put it to punch and just automatically jump to where it needs to be. But like, there's all these tools to help. But like, at the end of the day, like, you need a human behind that thing, because it is a creative thing. And I think like experienced artists that are doing their artwork, they want a human touch behind them. They don't want some machine like guessing where they want to fucking get the focus and failing at it. Like, that's when you're doing a shot of Tom Cruise, you don't want a machine guessing where the focus is. You want like a really good focus behind that. You know,
Yeah,
like,
because he's going to ask afterwards. He's going to want to watch that back.
Also, like, how much does he cost a minute? You know, like,
yeah.
And like, yeah.
Yeah, Cruise, you happy with that?
Have you heard that story about the stunt guy where it's like, I wanted to do this stunt, so I spoke to the stunt guy, and he said you can't do it; it's too dangerous. So I got another stunt guy. Good old Tom Cruise.
No.
Anyway,
Say what you will about Tom Cruise, he's a weird guy, but there is no one that is reinventing modern action.
Who's got the body of work he does? If you look at all his films, from Interview with the Vampire onwards, it's
he's
like
an action hero. He is an absolute hero.
Like,
there will never be another Tom Cruise. Like no one is brave enough to do their own stunts that.
He's not an actor anymore. He's a movie star, and there's not many people like him left. In fact,
indeed. Like, I've like action movies like that just aren't being made as much these days. Like, people aren't doing stuff real, and he gets a lot of hate because, like, obviously in all these modern movies, like the Mission Impossible stuff and Top Gun, like, he's like, yeah, we did it all for real, and it's like, then you see all this VFX breakdowns that they're not doing it for real. But like, obviously he's saying that because that's what they have to do to like advertise the movies. Like on the Barbie movie, they had blue screens throughout most of those sets, and on the behind the scenes footage, they keyed it out and pretended like they weren't on blue screens. That's how important it is to the studios to prove to audiences that are doing stuff for real. That's how much it can deteriorate or like hit the box office in a bad way if they're not doing stuff for real. So it's like, it's in their interest, if they're selling a movie, to be like, yeah, we did it all for real. Like, obviously, like people that watch the interview with Tom Cruise and are like, oh wow, they did all this shit for real in Top Gun. It's like, they didn't actually blow up planes. Like, people didn't actually die. Yeah. It's a movie. Like, come on, like, there needs to be
there's loads of stuff they did practically, but ultimately, like you said before, the CGI there is to enhance, not to completely.
Exactly.
So yeah,
there's things that are very hard to do in CGI. Like, I'm a big love of. I used to do a lot in After Effects myself, and I regularly watch these guys on YouTube who interview CGI people all the time. I'm like, I love that whole world, and it's like, and I think, you know, there are correct ways of doing CGI, like how they used it on Top Gun. You know, like you like movement and kind of body things are very hard to recreate in CGI or create a human feeling from. And like, I think as long as you're doing the thing itself for real, and you can create everything around it in CGI, then it's easy to get like a human emotional reaction from it, because it is real. you're like the thing that you're looking at, the thing that you're focused on the image is real. That Jason Bourne stunt when he's jumping through the window. That's another very good example of it. You know, like they did the stunt for real, but they just did the glass. Like obviously it would be dangerous to have actual glass, then did the building in
Well,
post.
didn't they?
Like, that's fine.
Didn't they CGI? He was caught in the reflection of the glass, so I think they had to CGI.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah,
him out, because when you watch the footage, because I love watching that. That's one of my favorite films now, and especially of the Bourne trilogy. But when I watch that scene back, it is even more exciting because of what the cinematographer was willing to do with Matt Damon, and it, like you said, it takes it to a different level. It feels almost like 5D almost because of where they're taking us with the camera, rather than just in post zooming in. They're like, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we get the guy to jump off the balcony with him? You're like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I have a lot of respect for like Tom Cruise and the way he because it's like there's such an unusual situation, like because most movies would not allow that. Studios would be like, fuck no, we can't get that insured. You mad? Like, but he's the producer. He's the guy that's putting the money in. So it's like no one can tell him not to do anything. It's like
that's
and
genius
also like
or madness of it.
Yeah, like, and it's like also doing those stunts for real is also way too expensive. Like studios are going to be like, no, right, we'll just do it in post. It'll be something cheaper. But like he's running the whole ship. So it's like it's such a unique situation with the movies that he makes because it's like no one else can really do that in movies. It's not really something that's kind of possible.
I mean, he's definitely got genetics on his side, hasn't he? Because he hasn't aged like most 60-year-old men, has he?
Yeah, I mean, there's something going on there, like Scientology. There must be something going on there.
He's a vampire, guys. He's a vampire.
Yeah,
maybe because he is like nearly 60, isn't he?
Yeah,
yeah, he must be.
He's nearly 60
because
and he's jumping off motorbikes, going off cliffs, hanging on to helicopters all at the same time.
He should be like chilling out, claiming a bus pass. Like
a friend of mine worked on Mission, or I think the latest Mission Impossible film, and we were watching back the trailer, and he was like, "Tom Cruise, he did not look this good on set. There's a lot of retouching done."
Oh, what, Dead Reckoning?
That's where the CGI is. He jumped off that train for real. His face.
It's funny you should say that because I saw him on a red carpet. I wasn't on the red carpet. I saw him on TV on a red carpet the other day, and I was like, he has aged.
Yeah.
And then I see like things. I'm like,
but that's fine. That's fine.
We're all aging. It's okay. Like it's just that in movies that they have to look a certain way. So maybe that's where.
Anyway, guys, we've taken Aaron's time up loads, like an hour longer than we planned. Thank you, Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's because he's just such a great guy.
I think the boys will agree that was a great chat, and I think we want to ask you more questions, but also we don't want to take up your whole evening, and I think
don't want to kidnap you.
There might be battery issues.
All good, man.
I definitely need a wee. There's a
weeing issues.
We can definitely do a part 2, and what a fun part 2 would be is you can check out mine and Kev's Instagrams, and you can just criticize our work for the next time.
No, thank you.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
No, thank you. Right, I'll end.
Thank you so much.
No worries, man. I'll end it in a second. Just don't go anywhere because it needs like a minute afterwards to just upload everything.
Sure.
Unless you're Drew, in which case it needs 17 hours.
Whoa! I was in Travelodge with 2 bars of
Drew was
Wi-Fi.
in Baghdad last week.
I might as well have been.
Aaron's in Ghana and got better reception than you have in.
Good point.
Brighton.
Yeah. Ghana trumps Travelodge.
Ouch. Yeah, I blame. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Aaron. We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, dude, you legend.
Appreciate you asking, man. Yeah, it's been really good fun. Thank you very much. It's been a privilege.
Nah, cool, man. All right. Thank you very much for listening.
Dude. Cheers, man.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.